Hello everyone, Daniela from Addo Aesthetics here, and welcome back to week 3 of Marketing Month. I am joined by my dear friend and colleague Nicole Simpson, who is a licensed esthetician. She is the founder of the Global Aesthetics Group and the Aesthetics Influencer. So thank you again, Nicole, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So for week 3 of Marketing Month, we are actually really going to tap into Nicole's expertise. So Nicole has a massive amount of experience with the global market. And so we're going to touch on trends in the global market and how they compare to what we're doing here in the States to see if there's anything that we can learn from these other markets and anything that we can kind of incorporate into our own practices. So, Nicole, I'll let you go ahead and kick this off and maybe share with us some of the kind of biggest differences that you noticed when you started educating globally.
Oh my gosh, I could go on and on and on about all of this, but essentially you've got, different schools of thought around the world in terms of how to treat skin and take care of skin. And then you also have what's happening in the market as well in terms of performance. So I'll try to touch on both. One of the first things that I noticed a long time ago when I first started traveling overseas is my first experiences were in Europe. And with the Europeans, one of the things that I noticed was just their mentality on skincare. So everything, is about sensitive skin and taking care of the sensitive skin. And, all skin should be treated sensitively. And I remember the first time I was training a group of girls over there. I'll leave the country unnamed, but it's a famous Western European country. And I was talking to them about retinol, and I thought I was going to get thrown out, of their clinic because they were like, retinol? We don't need to use retinol. It's so aggressive.
And here we're like, exfoliate, strip, get everything.
Exactly. Use it like water. And so I started to kind of notice that, there was this American mentality on skincare. If it's not red, burning, peeling, itching, flaking, it's not working. I don't want it. Send it back. It's not for me. And then the European kind of like methodology in skincare was very different. It was the opposite. Let's nurture, let's moisturize, let's care, let's soothe. But somehow we were getting to the same endpoints. So there was wisdom along the way that I wasn't really sure what it was, but it's essentially, just this difference in mentality that got me so intrigued. And then as I grew in my career, I started traveling different regions of the world, and I found myself in Asia. And the Asians were really interesting because it's all about different techniques on massage and like slimming the face down and instant gratification. So for example, if you have a facial in Europe, you will have something very manual with the hands, lots of steam, lots of very traditional skincare. But when you get to Asia, everything is done with machines. Low energy lasers, skin tightening machines, microdermabrasion, lots of combination treatments. What's interesting to me is that when you look at the United States in our marketplace, and if you look at the numbers as well as what you see happening every day out there with your practices, is that we typically drive what happens around the world. So with chemical peels, a lot of that started here and then disseminated around the world. With microdermabrasion, a lot of that started here, disseminated around the world. What really caught me off guard was something, so shocking, because with European skincare methodologies, they are more conservative. Microneedling and PRP have been one of the more popular treatments there for years, 6, 7, 8 years. It's been taking off, a lot of traction on the market. And it's just now getting traction here in the United States, which is something that was really shocking because typically we're the ones that usually launch that out. So it's interesting to look at the different nuances that we have.
Well, and didn't dermaplaning is very popular, and didn't that start in Asia and then come over here?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure.
I'm fairly certain that it started in Korea and ended up, because I've always felt, and I certainly don't have the same global experience as you, but I've felt like these kind of newer modalities and different things come from Asia, head to California, and you see them adopt kind of from West Coast to East Coast. Like I feel like there's a lot of things that start to happen on the West Coast, and then eventually the East Coast will get them, because I feel like the East Coast is a little more conservative in their approach to skin than the West Coast is of the States.
Very true. It's very true. That is something, shame on me for not knowing, but I think you're right. If you look at just kind of how things happen, that's definitely how it's going. But what's interesting now, and I've been attending a lot of international conferences for the past probably 4 or 5 years, and sitting in these lectures with different physicians that come from the US and lecture to doctors from all around the world, is what's happening in the marketplace. And it's really surprising to me to see this almost like epic shift. So, a lot of the global skincare has always been about it being very natural. Is it organic? Is it soothing? Is it soft? Is it safe? And now there's this huge shift into either medical brands or top high performance professional brands. There's a big emphasis on focusing. I know that grass theory in the States has been around for a while. It's been educated by some of the major brands, well, really one of the major brands, and lots of very powerful estheticians who like to talk about that too. But it's something where we know you need a growth factor. You need a retinoid. You need an antioxidant, a sunscreen. You need good hyaluronic acid in skin. Like there's certain ingredient classes that we know by the recommendations of dermatologists and plastic surgeons and estheticians really actually work in skin. And you're starting to see that trend pick up around the world. So people are moving away from natural types of methodologies into, even if they've got natural brands, incorporating these ingredients into it. So there's never been more.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a dangerous word to use because who says that antioxidants are not natural?
It's true.
It's a lot of the medical grade skincare, physician dispensed skincare, they use natural quote unquote ingredients.
Yeah.
But because a lot of them are tested in labs or for whatever reason they're not branding or marketing their visual components or the way that they're positioning it to this kind of natural, organic, or whatever. But they do take a lot of their ingredients from nature.
They do. And they can still, and that's the beauty of where manufacturing is now with skincare products, is that they can absolutely, market it in a very technical way, and they can formulate with these natural ingredients in a very, very sophisticated technical way that we can get results with these ingredients. But you're right, a lot of skincare, most of it is naturally derived. It's a good balance between synthetic and natural ingredients. But what's more important is, can we keep ingredients stable in a bottle? Can we deliver them into skin? And are they available in skin to cause a change? And that's really where the focus is right now. And so you're starting to see these doctors who were typically doctors and estheticians who were typically more conservative and just, not into having these high performance brands, really be interested in having access to these high performance brands. So you're starting to see this expansion of these really good products around the world that clinicians and providers are really much more interested in, which is something we didn't see before. So you're starting to see, like I said, and I don't want to call out specific brands, but if you think of the larger brands that we're aware of in our industry, they're experiencing really amazing global growth right now. So, it's one thing to kind of sit here on camera and talk to you about what these trends are and what's driving them around the world and what some of the differences are. But it's another thing to discuss how it benefits you and how it really can help you grow. And I can share with you something that has been consistent across all the countries that I've worked in. I've worked in more than 37. And it's something where we're focusing less on watching the growth of products and brands, but more on the increasing number of procedures every year. So a good benchmark for you is to always look at, and this is something you can pull on the internet for free, and we'll include this in the write-up below. You can go to get the ASAPs. Every year there's an annual report from the ASAPs meeting that basically goes through and tells you, how many procedures are happening around the world, aesthetic, invasive, non-invasive, etc. And I want you to focus on looking at how many non-invasive aesthetic procedures are happening around the world and how fast they're growing. And that's a good benchmark. So if you look at, I think the most recent data I've seen is that if you look at Botox, fillers, lasers, things that are typically what we're working with in our practices, whether it's medical or the non-medical versions of these, the growth rate is about 5%. So with each procedure, it's very natural for us to recommend skincare in conjunction with those procedures, whether you need post-care, maintenance care, things to take care of the skin. You can tighten your skin, but if your skin still looks bad, you've still got a subpar treatment. So we got to sell regimens to support that. But if that's growing 5%, then your growth should be 5% or more. And one of the ways you can do that is by looking at, what are your top 5 treatments that you offer in your office? And how much revenue are they driving for your practice? And then when you look at the number of those treatments that you do, what percentage of patients, and this goes back to what we spoke about last week with regard to your kind of retail to service ratio in terms of sales, but look at the number of patients that purchase a regimen from you after that procedure. And if that number is less than 30%, you've really got an amazing opportunity for growth. So add on 5%, add on 10%, set a goal to get to 40 or 50% of those patients purchasing products from you after that procedure. And that is the benchmark that will drive your practice and keep your practice business growth in line with what's happening around the world. So this way you don't get left behind.
Yeah, one of the things that I always say to my patients when I'm doing a consult is, these are the treatments that are going, this is what it's going to take to get your skin to where you want it. This is your maintenance treatment, what you need to do to keep your skin there. And your home care is how you protect your time and money investment. You don't spend all this time and energy going to the gym and working out and then go home and eat fast food.
Absolutely.
It's just doesn't work. So if you're going to spend the time and money that it takes, and a lot of these treatments have downtime, there's different things associated with it, you need to protect the investment. And the best way to do that is with quality skincare. And I'm surprised and I'm wondering how this is in the global market as well. But I feel like here in the States, so many people, so many estheticians, they don't recommend products because they feel like they're being pushy or they feel like they're being salesy. And my approach is, you're not doing your job if you don't recommend them products and they're expecting you to recommend products.
It's true. It's so true. There's a major skincare brand that did a study that showed they actually hired an agency to call patients who had a procedure recently and ask them their expectation to be recommended a skincare product versus them actually having received a recommendation for skincare products by either their physician or their esthetician. And the gap sometimes is 50 to 60%, meaning, their expectation was here and the actual recommendation was way down here, which means there's a huge growth because remember, the minute that they leave you, they're consumers, they're going to go and they are going to buy from whoever has the guts to recommend them the products that they need next. So I think you make an excellent point. The other thing is that I do see globally is that in the States, we are more commercially aggressive, even if we're not recommending because we don't want to be perceived as pushy. It's even considered to be more pushy in other countries, especially the European countries or the Asian countries where it can be considered disrespectful to ask a client for money. And so there are ways to get around that in a popular way that we see, especially globally, is by including the cost of skincare into the cost of a treatment.
So bundling.
Yeah, bundling it together. So if you've got something that, if you sell a series of needling packages, or if you sell a series of peels or facials or laser, whatever modality is popular for you, increase the cost to cover the cost of the product and sell it as a full kind of global treatment kit that takes care of every single need that they have that addresses their standard of care and keeps drugstore products, Clinique, no offense to Clinique, but Clinique and Lauder and things that may not be adapted to skin that's been recently treated by a professional out of their hands, and lets you keep control because you are their provider and they're seeking professional advice from you.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big fan of bundling. I think that, when it's done right, it's incredibly beneficial to the practice. It's something that we believe that this product is going to benefit your skin. It's that important. If you're going to do this treatment, you've got to use these products post-care. And when you set up your practice in a way that it's like, the home care is on the same level as the treatments, your home care is going to go up, whether you're bundling or not. It's if you position it in the way that they're equivalent, and it's just as important to use proper home care, you will see your numbers go up.
It's absolutely true. And that's how you can also hit those kind of revenue points that we spoke about earlier. Like if you do a lot of lasers and currently your service to skincare purchase ratio is 30%, if you want to hit 50%, bundle. Just bundle. And you're lucky in this country, in the States, we are legally and ethically able to market these packages to our clients. We can give them a beautiful creative name. We can promote them on social media. We can print off resources and posters and things and put them in the waiting room. There's a lot of things we can do to promote that and educate that it is necessary. Like you said, that they need to treat the home care the same way they treat the procedure or the treatment that they're getting. And we're lucky because in a lot of other locations, legally and ethically, they're not able to market those things together. So anything that may have a doctor's logo on it cannot have a skincare logo on it. So, there's so many regulations around the world that we just don't have here, and we're fortunate. So, I always encourage, take big advantage of that. You can really watch your sales go up.
Awesome advice. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add to make this session, this marketing session on global trends complete?
Okay, so actually I think, talking about kind of what's happening around the world and what the benchmarks are and how to really take what's happening globally and implement it into sales success in your practice are really the most important things. And then just remembering, that what we do here really does drive what's happening around the rest of the world. So don't be afraid if you've got, social media channels that are out there. If you have blogs, I know a lot of your followers have really amazing blogs. Don't be afraid to educate, because everybody wants to know what's happening here, just like you want to know what's happening on the outside. And that's something where, I would even be happy to share at some point, menu of services that I've picked up from global spas and global medi spas and things like that we could provide you as resources, as inspiration. But I think, just focusing on what's happening, making sure you've got high performance products across the key areas that we know that work, riding the wave, like you said, ride your winners, ride the wave of the number of aesthetic procedures that are happening, and then take advantage of our ability to market them here. You'll see the same kind of global growth happening in your individual practices as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. And
Absolutely.
I hope that you guys all enjoyed week 3 of Marketing Month, and we'll be back again next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.